Hello, Smite lovers. Welcome to the show. This is the Smite Community Cast. We are currently in Week 5 of the summer split of Season 2 of the Smite Pro League. If this is your first time watching one of these videos, which with this one it should be since this is the first one of these videos, I suggest that you check out the overview video that I will link in the description of this video. It tells you what these community casts are all about and what you can do to help. So definitely go check that out if this is the first community cast you've seen. Today, like I said, we're in Week 5 of the summer split of the SPL, and this first game series is a 2-game series. We've got Team AFK versus Cognitive Gaming. Most people, looking at the voting right now, expect AFK to take this 2-0. I certainly expect AFK to take this 2-0. Cognitive has been having a pretty rough time so far in this season of the SPL, though they definitely show promise. I mean, nothing's out of the question. Wouldn't be too horribly surprised if Cog manages to take a game off AFK. AFK has actually dropped a couple games so far in this split against teams that people thought they would easily 2-0. I'm a bit disappointed in that because, full disclosure, I'm a bit of an AFK fanboy, so I was a little sad when that happened. But that being said, we will get right into the picks and bans here, fire up the replay engine here in Smite, and we'll get started. So, over on the left side here we've got Cognitive Gaming, and on the right side we've got AFK Gaming. Hopping into the picks and bans here. For Cognitive Gaming, what I suggest, and what I suggest for any team against AFK, is don't try to ban out AFK. All of their players really have a pretty deep god pool. Specifically, Kiki and Cyclone Spin have a pretty deep god pool. Cyclone Spin, it's basically pointless to try and ban anything against him, because he really just plays whatever he feels like on a game-to-game basis. Starting out with Cog, we do have the Xbalanque ban. If I had to pick a god to ban against AFK, it would be Xbalanque. Allied really prefers playing Xbalanque over really any other hunter and tends to dominate in the mid and late game pretty hard with that. So that's a good ban coming out of Cognitive. Unsurprisingly, AFK following up with the Neath ban. Lately you've seen quite a trend of banning out hunters early, specifically Neath. Hunters are generally considered to be pretty overpowered right now, and Neath is definitely the biggest defender of that bunch. She's got that generally good hunter late game. She doesn't have an attack speed steroid like other hunters, but just that range consistent damage is still there. But her early game and mid game is just crazy. She has some of the best clear in the game, not just of a hunter, but of any god. She's got that one ability wave clear very early on, so that's definitely a good ban to take out if you're not planning on picking it yourself. You do not want to be against a Neath. Next ban coming up from Cognitive, we've got Sylvanas. That's a good ban. Incon heavily favors Sylvanas. He said that multiple times, and Sylvanas is just generally considered to be the top tier support right now, him and Athena together. We'll see if an Athena ban comes out. I don't expect it to. I expect AFK might give that away so that they can pick up 2 gods that they want themselves. We'll see how that goes, and it is indeed the Athena ban. So all standard bans across the board right now for the first ban phase, taking out the 2 top tier supports. Really good first pick here from Cognitive Gaming, picking up the Isis. Isis is definitely Kiki's preferred god. As I mentioned, he has a very wide god pool, but whenever they can, they do tend to favor picking up that Isis for Kiki. So that's a great pick for Cognitive. Take that away from Kiki and secure themselves a solid mid laner. Over back on AFK's side, they're going to follow up with the Geb pick. That's not surprising. Geb generally considered that 3rd place support, so we'll see what Cog ends up going into. And also unsurprisingly, they're going to pick up that Bellona as well. Weaken heavily favors that Bellona in the jungle, and AFK tends to pick her up whenever they have her available. Back over on the Cog side, see what they're going to go with for their next picks. Teams generally are favoring flex picks in this season early on in the draft, picks that could go into multiple lanes or roles to try and keep their drafting open into the later stages after that second ban phase. We've got Apollo and Ares now logged in for Cognitive. Apollo's been making a bit of a resurgence lately. He sort of fell off the radar after his nerfs, but people are realizing that just because he has bad clear doesn't mean he's dead. He still has an amazing late game. His split pushing and team fighting ability in the late game is great with that Mez. He just has a lot of control for a hunter. So I think that's a great pickup. And Ares recently, I want to say Ares has had like 100% pick ban rate in Europe, and a very high pick ban rate in North America. Ares used to be considered really trash tier and nobody ever picked him, and you were basically considered you were going to lose if you picked Ares. That's definitely changed around and he's become one of the top tier supports now that Athena and Sylvanas are basically permanently banned. People realize that Ares damage really is valuable, and when you've got a hunter like Apollo that can self-peel so well, picking up a Guardian like Ares to go with that just has a lot of damage is definitely a good choice. Back over on AFK's side, they pick up the Medusa. We haven't actually seen a ton of Medusa getting played, but it seems like teams are still experimenting with her and picking her up. She goes pretty well with Geb. Geb has a lot of disable, and Medusa only needs a few seconds to get out most of her damage with that fast steroid. Back into the bans, we've got Bastet banned out, not surprising. That's probably targeted at Cyclone Spin. I imagine they think Bellona is already going into the jungle, since we mentioned that Weaken seems to favor Bellona very heavily in the jungle. Generally not going to give that to Cyclone Spin. And Hoonbot's banned out over on AFK's side. That's a solid ban. Hoonbot's considered one of the best junglers right now. It's right up there on the same tier as like Thor. Those are two very popular jungles. Surprised to not see Thor picked or banned right now. And interestingly, over on AFK, we've got Fenrir for the next pick here. Cyclone has played that in the solo before, so we'll see how that goes. It seems like it was a solo and a mid that AFK still needed based on Weaken taking Bellona to the jungle. See how that pans out. Back over on Cognitive, we've got Bakasura and Kabrakan hovered right now. They're looking for a solo and a jungle most likely, and those two would certainly fill those roles. And we've switched over to a Hercules now, yeah, so that should be solo and jungle locked in. Kabrakan in the jungle, Hercules over in the solo lane. Solid picks, and got some Guardians being hovered over on AFK. Like I said, it's impossible to ban against AFK. You never know what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to do right now. This is kind of a weird lineup. That Fenrir kind of threw me for a loop. Figured that could go to solo for Cyclone, but now we have Sobek being hovered for AFK as well. So if they do lock in this Sobek, we know Weaken's going to take that Bellona to the jungle, and I'm certain Geb and Medusa are going to be that duo lane. So yeah, Fenrir and Sobek locked in. We'll have to see how that pans out. That's going to be solo and mid in some form, so we'll see if Kiki takes Fenrir and Cyclone takes Sobek, or reversed. That being said, we will hop into the game now that we have concluded picks and bans, and we'll meet you back in game in just a second. Alright, here we are back in game, getting ready to get started. We'll see how well I can do trying to capture all of the action this game. I am doing my own camera work while trying to stream this and capture all the action and talk about the fights at the same time. Introducing the teams, again, Cognitive's over on the left side. It will indeed be Meerkat in the solo lane, playing Hercules. Kabrakan will be in the jungle, played by Bickham. Homiefe on that Hades, comboing with Famous Hate over in the duo lane on Apollo. And Hurry When your mid player will be playing that Isis, again taking that away from Kiki, a very smart decision. And now we get to see the craziness that AFK has done with their draft, so it will actually be Kiki mid on Fenrir. Don't know that I've ever seen a mid Fenrir in professional level play before, but there's first for everything. Allied and Incon on Medusa and Geb, unsurprisingly in that duo lane. We pretty much knew Weaken was going to go into the jungle on that Bellona. Very favored pick for Weaken in the jungle, and Cyclone Spin will be playing the solo deck. So interesting draft from AFK, pretty standard draft from Cognitive. AFK has gotten themselves in trouble with a few wonky drafts in the past, and Fenrir mid can definitely be abused with the right rotations and pressure, so we'll see if Cognitive Gaming can take advantage of that sort of wonky draft and maybe put AFK in a bad position and punish them for this unconventional pick. Looks like we're going to have pretty standard starts across the board here, both teams warding up. We've got 2 wards out from Cognitive and 3 out from AFK, and we are indeed just going to have the totally standard starts. Nothing special going on here. Mid and the duo will take care of the red camps, and solo and jungle will take care of the blue camps, and then move on to their side camps. See if we have any interesting rotations coming out here. So that red buff is dropped for Kiki. And both the teams solo lane and jungle have moved on to their blue buffs. No invade shenanigans happening. See how this goes. Immediately Kiki going very aggressive on Hurrywind. That was really bad start for Hurrywind, unfortunately. Kiki already taking him down to 0 health before Bickham could rotate over. So Hurrywind's going to have to be very careful in this lane now, because obviously that is very killable levels of HP for the Isis. I apologize for my voice this game. This week ended up getting a very bad cold right as I wanted to start these community casts, but I'm pushing through for you guys. Alright, so we've got Weekend now rotated over to the mid, about a wave and a half behind Bickham on that Cabrakan. And both players now hanging around in mid. I wouldn't be surprised if Bickham puts a lot of emphasis on this mid lane, seeing how aggressive Kiki's been going on Isis already. He jumps in, puts a little bit of damage into Bickham, but takes a lot of poke back himself, and eats a spirit ball, so not a great trade for Kiki there. We'll see how our solo lane's shaping up over here. I don't see much kill potential in this lane. This should pretty much be a slap fight. Both of these gods have built-in sustain in their kit, and both are very tanky, so you shouldn't see a whole lot of action over here, mostly just a farm fest. In the duo lane, there is some kill potential. Not a ton, I would say. Apollo, not a great damager early game. Ares can definitely set things up in that regard, but pretty unlikely to see a kill here. I think the mid lane is going to be where most of the action occurs in this game. Over on Cognitive, Hurrywind was sent back to the base by Kiki's aggression, and they're going to go ahead and steal these back harpies now. We'll take a quick look at items and see what we've got going. We've got pretty standard starts, it looks like, on Cognitive. Nothing crazy here. Apollo going with the very popular Apollo build. Most hunters tend to pick up Bluestone, but most people seem to be trending towards that Death's Toll on Apollo, since he heavily relies on his basic attacks for his clear, and going into that Heartseeker unsurprisingly as well. Over on the other side on AFK, Ally going with the more standard Bluestone pendant start, but again into that Heartseeker. Hunter's very much favoring Heartseeker right now. In the current PTS, we've got some slight nerfs on Heartseeker in the form of a price change, so we'll see how that fixes things. Going into the first mid-camp fight now, very quick pickups by AFK. They rotated into position and both had their hogs ready. Unfortunate there by Cog, they just weren't quite able to get into position in time, but very nicely done by AFK, coordinating very well on those. Over on the right side, we've actually got Cyclone Spin in a bit of trouble here. Hercules managed to get a pluck and pull we saw on the mini-map, but Cyclone Spin is going to be out of there just fine. But being out of mana, he does need to watch himself a bit now. Weaken's rotating in from the back, but they're really not going to be able to do a whole lot to Hercules. He actually gets plucked and dropped back, Weaken does, but no danger there. I don't see anything really coming out of this lane right now. For a while we actually had 3 players hanging around in mid lane for Cognitive there, trying to keep this Fenrir down. I suggested that pressure there will be very important, and it seems like Cognitive has realized that, so good job on them picking up on what they need to do in this game to try and shut down this wonky lineup that AFK is drafted into. Over on the duo lane, both hunters have gone back and picked up their Heartseekers. See what they itemize into next. I imagine they'll both probably go into Boots and Archival. Apollo may skip the Archival and go straight into his Executioner and then into crits, since he tends to focus on the late game anyways. Oh, and actually, Heartseekers, neither of them will likely be going Archival. Both of them will likely be going Aussie. And then we'll see how the atomization goes from there. Kiki actually in a bit of trouble here. Did have his leap up, so Bickham wisely holding on to that ultimate because Kiki would have just been able to jump out of it. And Kiki will now go back. I'm interested to see how Kiki itemizes on this mid lane Fenrir. He's just going to go into the standard power boots. Bologna has picked up attack speed boots. This definitely seems to be the favored choice on Bologna. Personally, when I play Bologna, I like to play her as more of a bruiser ability caster rather than focusing on the attack speed so much, but most players do tend to favor that attack speed oriented build on Bologna. Got the Traveler's Shoes coming out for Ares. That's definitely a good bet on Ares. Ares rotates a lot and he hits a lot of people with his abilities, so it's definitely good to get some extra gold out of that. Incon has also picked up the Traveler's Boots, so both supports favoring gold gain over early utility and defenses this time around. Good pickups. I still have sort of mixed feelings on the Traveler's Shoes. I definitely see the advantages they have, and I know why players like to get a lot of gold, because supports tend to be quite starved on gold, especially in Season 2. Supports are really struggling, and that's why they added the gold bonus onto the Traveler's Shoes, to give supports an alternative to Midas boots once those were removed. So we'll see how those play out. They can definitely pay out in the long run if you don't die a lot early and you manage to get those rotations and get those hits for the extra gold. So hopefully that will work out for both support players. We've got a fight breaking out here now. Weekend jumps in with the ultimate, and Incon drops his as well. Fomiefe is taken out before he can finish his ultimate. Circle of Protection can do a lot of work here, did prevent much of that damage. AFK focusing now back on Bickham while Weekend tries to... oh, that's actually Weekend being chased down. Famous Hate nearly takes out Weekend. He's now in a lot of trouble himself. We'll see if Allied can pick this up. Cyclone Spin rotated all the way over from the solo and managed to help finish that Kabrakan. A beautiful boulder bounce by Meerkat. Gets the double tap on Incon and finishes him out. Currently a 1-for-2 trade in favor of AFK Gaming as mid-camps respawn. Looks like that'll be it for the fight. Well done by both teams. Cognitive was definitely on the back foot being initiated on there, but managed to pull a kill back out of it, so well done by them. Meerkat in a very bad position now, especially with those Ares chains missing. He will be taken out by the Brutalize and the Sickening Strike from Sobek. Ares managing to get out of there okay, luckily for him. That definitely could have turned into another kill. So an unfortunate drop by Cognitive there. I know what they wanted to do. Hercules definitely was focused on trying to pull out one of those mid camps, since they have been giving them both to AFK. Unfortunately was unable to do so and did get picked, but the game is still very close to even. Only about 1,000 gold separating the two teams right now. Cognitive not out of this by any means. Pressure going onto the solo lane tower by Weekend and Cyclone Spin. And let's see how these hunters are going to go for their itemization. So, yep, it looks like they are both going into that Aussie. Bologna going more attack speed here. This is likely to be the Archival for her. That is the popular Bologna build these days. Actives, we actually have lots of blinks coming out right now. Ares has picked up a blink, Kabrakan has picked up a blink. We actually have an initiation here. Allied wisely going to use his ultimate to stop that Ares pull. He does not have beads picked up yet, so that definitely could have been dangerous. Good choice by him to use the ultimate, and good choice by Ares to try and use the ultimate before beads were available, but unfortunately that ultimate from Medusa was up, able to stop the pull. Hercules going into the Smithy's Hammer. Pretty standard for Hercules. We generally see a Smithy's Hammer plus one more physical protection item, and then into some penetration and cooldown on Hercules. Kabrakan going for the Power Boots, trying to maximize his early burst potential here. He will likely go into a more bruisery build following that. Over in the solo lane, Cyclone Spin and Meerkat seem to be pretty evenly matched over here. Again, they're just sort of trading out. Cyclone has managed to pick up a couple kills, but Meerkat is actually leading in gold despite only having one kill and having one death. So some efficient farming coming out of Meerkat. Well done on his part. You definitely need to make sure you don't let Sobek get ahead of you, because Sobek generally is played as a bruiser and just sort of a tank with some utility, but if Sobek gets ahead, his full ability rotation has a lot of damage, especially for a Guardian. So it's good job by Meerkat here to keep up with Cyclone Spin. Generally, we see Weaken favor that solo lane pretty hard to try and snowball Cyclone Spin, but against a tanky character like Hercules, and especially by a good player like Meerkat, who generally plays pretty safe and makes sure to get his farm, focusing on that solo lane would not be good. So Weaken's done a good job of getting his own farm, but that has meant that Cyclone Spin has been unable to snowball like he generally does, because he has not managed to get a kill over in the solo lane. And even after those rotations with some kills, as we said, Hercules managing to maintain the slimmest of gold leads. Mid camp's coming up again here. It looks like for the first time we should have an even split. AFK is going to pick up the left mid camps, and hopefully Cognitive will be able to secure the right mid camps for themselves this time. Do actually have Weaken paying attention in the back here. Oh, unfortunate for Cognitive. Weaken manages to snag those with a hog. Got a bit of a fight breaking out here. I don't think anyone should die. Oh, except Weaken drops the ultimate and Incon drops the ultimate. Not quite enough of delay on Incon's ultimate there. Not quite staggering those stuns well. Still no deaths just yet. Finally, Cyclone Spin does manage to come over from the solo and pick up a kill. And Homie FA dies there in the middle as well. So right now, this is currently a 2-for-1 trade in favor of AFK Gaming, and they're sort of trending towards that Gold Fury side of the map. We'll see if they do decide to pick that up. Sentry Ward going down to... I just realized I don't actually know what reveal wards are called in Smite. Sentry Ward is what I said from Dota. I think they're called Sentry Wards. I don't play support, and I generally don't buy Sentry Wards, I just buy lots of normal wards. So hopefully I'm okay on that. On this middle lane here, Kiki So Cheeky and Hurriwind even on levels right now, and very even on gold. Despite AFK getting some good fights, this game still hasn't really opened up. Cognitive's still in it, only less than 2,000 gold behind. Let's see where that big gold difference is. So it looks like the largest gold difference is between the junglers and the hunters here, allied with quite a lead on top of Famous Hate, and Weaken with quite a lead over Bickham in the gold category. Let's bring up the graphs here. XP difference is starting to trend pretty heavily in favor of AFK, unfortunately. Incon a level ahead of Homie FA, we've got Allied a level ahead of Famous Hate. Kiki So Cheeky is a level ahead of Hurriwind, so pretty much a level across the board now, opening up for AFK. We'll see what Cognitive can do to try and close that gap back up. We do have Cognitive trying to close the gap right now, and a very quickly sneaked Gold Fury. Well done by Cognitive, dropping that circle of protection. We now have some aggression on Meerkat. Fenrir, Kiki So Cheeky, is going to drop that ultimate, and they're going to see how much damage they can pour into him. Doing a good job of staggering their CCs this time, and they do manage to take out the Hercules. Still definitely a big win for Cognitive Gaming, though, sneaking out that Gold Fury. Very well done by them. They know they're a little bit behind, and they needed to do something to get back into this game, and that was just the ticket for them. So, well done by Cog. We have a blink in by Incon dropping the ultimate and Weaken as well. Ares is going to try and get off his ultimate, and he does manage to get it off successfully this time. A big ultimate in from Famous Hate, doing a lot of damage in the fight here. Cyclone Spin managing to recoup some of that with a sickening strike, though. So far, Isis the only character to fall. Ultimate coming in from Allied, but unable to stun anyone. Homie FA in big trouble under the tower now and will get taken out. Good shield from Incon there to mitigate some of that tower damage on the Cyclone Spin. And AFK managed to pick up 2 quick kills. They did lose a lot of health for it, so yeah, we won't see anything like a fire giant happening here, but they do manage to take a mid tower. So good initiation by AFK there. Again, would like to see them stagger the CC a little bit. Incon and Weaken seem to be hitting their ultimates at about exactly the same time, so they're getting some CC reduction there, not getting the full duration that they could get out of those, but still solid initiation and a lot of damage. Cognitive Gaming, not quite the right response on these. They're doing a good job in their individual plays, but they're not quite working as a team like AFK Gaming is. Meerkat's doing a lot of damage in the fights and trying to disrupt as much as possible, but the problem is that they are not sort of grouping up around the Ares when that ult happens. Unfortunately, in these fights, it's always been AFK initiating so far, so Ares ults have been very reactionary, and the team just has not been able to group up around them and take advantage of all the beads and ultimates being down after those Ares ults. But now we're going to see some aggression in the solo lane. Weaken and Cyclone Spin working on Meerkat here. Incon coming in as well, but we're not going to see any fruit of that labor, except the tower is brought down. It was already on about 1 hit left, so they managed to run in and take that. We've got Kiki So Cheeky in a lot of trouble here mid, eating 2 chains from the areas so far and down to the flame. He's going to use his ultimate to try and get out of there, and it looks like he will live. Take a look into itemization here. Kiki actually helping out his team by going into the Heart Ward Amulet right after those power boots. That saves Incon from having to buy it, and that's reflected in the fact that Incon has actually gone straight into Magi's here. Unsurprising to see magical protection coming up as well, because we do actually have 3 magic gods on the side of Cognitive Gaming, which is pretty odd in this season. We've been seeing a lot of heavy physical comps, a lot of times only seeing even like 1 magic god on a team. Like to see some more diversity here in that picking from Cog, so that's really nice. And good job on AFK picking up on that and itemizing a little more into magical defense than standard. Unsurprisingly, Sobek did go into physical defense against Meerkat there in the solo lane. Cyclone Spin wanting to get some CDR. Obviously, Sobek entirely relies on his abilities for everything, and he is very mana hungry, so that Breastplate of Valor with that large mana pool boost is definitely a nice pickup. Hunters going very standard builds again here. We do see some discrepancy though. Medusa going into an attack speed build, while Apollo going into the power boots. Not too surprising. Apollo has a large steroid that comes with automatically, so going to power boots is pretty common on him. Plus the power boots give you a little extra damage against those few shots that you get into towers while you're split pushing. Got some aggression going on in multiple lanes, but nothing going to come of that right now. I'd like to see Cognitive try and group up and get some picks here. They really need to try and spread AFK and then move quickly as a team to pick up some kills while AFK is split. Right now, with the experience and gold lead that AFK has, it's going to be very hard for Cognitive to take a straight-up team fight against them, especially considering the Geb and Bologna having such strong team fight presence. So Cognitive needs to try and group up and get at least like a one-person favor advantage in a fight if they hope to take it, I think. Kiki jumping in on Isis, but quickly rethinking that as Bickham comes in from the side on that Cabrakan. Mid camps again will go to AFK, opening up that gold lead a little more. Got Meerkat being tossed back in by Cyclone Spin. We do have a blink coming in from Ares and a lot of damage going into Cyclone Spin. Geb Shield from Incon going to help that out a bit. Got the Bologna ultimate coming in, countered by the Isis ultimate though. That Circle of Protection doing a lot of work. No deaths yet. A big boulder bouncing through, doing a lot of damage inside those Cabrakan walls. Nobody dead just yet. Isis fleeing out the back. She should be brought down here. Good Spirit Ball almost takes out Kiki So Cheeky, but on the other side we've got kills going both ways. Allied manages to take out one and then drops himself, and Meerkat picking up a double kill. He's really doing a good job this game of hanging in these team fights, abusing that power of Hercules. Unfortunately now he is a bit stranded between enemies. Kiki So Cheeky missing his leap and Bickham missing his crush, but does manage to blink in and follow him up for the finish. Excellent job there by Bickham. Weaken and Incon now fighting Meerkat, gonna see if they can take down this tanky Hercules, and they will be able to. So that fight was a bloodbath. 3 deaths for both teams, which is actually really good for Cognitive. You can see after that Gold Fury they closed the gap, but then it opened up again quite a bit, and now they've closed it down again to only about 2,000 gold. So really good job by Cognitive. I didn't think they would be able to do very well in a full-on team fight considering the experience disadvantage, but really good team play. The big impact there was that Cabrakan ultimate plus the Hercules boulder. The boulder hit pretty much everyone on AFK Gaming twice. So really excellent combination there, and it looks like Cognitive is tending towards a Gold Fury again now. We'll see if they're able to sneak another one out. Incon is trying to work his way in here. Gets his Magi's taken off by Bickham, but now Allied is in the mix. Famous Hate still sticking on this Gold Fury. We'll see if they're able to keep Incon out. Incon now working in, gonna go for the knock-up. Excellent Cabrakan ult to block Incon from getting in there, and we'll see if they're able to secure this. Cog does secure the Gold Fury, but unfortunately they were brought very low by that Medusa ult. Allied takes out 1. Allied working on Heroine now, takes out 2 for a double kill. Now Cabrakan is stranded, Hercules has had to bail, and we'll see if Bickham's able to make it out of this. He is not. Allied picks up 3, and now Meerkat, for going back in to try and save his ally, may lose his own life as well. Cyclone Spin still following, but under the tower they will be unable to follow him. So again, a really nice idea, trying to sneak that Gold Fury from Cognitive. The gold gap actually does narrow, despite them losing 4, which is really interesting. Figured that would have outweighed the Gold Fury, but it did not. And unfortunately now for Cognitive, AFK is going to try and go for the Fire Giant. Good choice by AFK now. They know the Hog is down on Homiefe because he used that to secure the Gold Fury, and with so many players just respawning, most of them will not be able to make it to the Fire Giant to contest in time. Hercules is going to try his best to contest, manages to get a good driving strike and ultimate, takes out Incon with that ultimate, and Cog does get back in to secure the Fire Giant. Really well done by Homiefe there, jumping in to steal that Fire Giant. He must not have used his Hog on the Gold Fury, somebody else must have. And Famous Hate takes out Cyclone Spin as well. Kiki in a little bit of trouble there, but managed to dive over the wall, so excellent, excellent play by Cognitive. They've actually taken the gold lead back now in this game. Take a look at Experience. Experience still pretty heavily favoring AFK, but excellent job by Cognitive, rallying back to take that Fire Giant. Meerkat gave away his life for it, but very much worth it. Managed to take out Incon, which got rid of AFK's Hog, and that Fire Giant lets them finish it off. You can see Bologna did have a Hog 3 that's just coming back up, but she was not able to secure it. Really good blink in and steal from the Ares. Got Circle of Protection going down now over here in this fight. Weaken is in a bit of trouble here, trapped beneath the Kraken wall, does manage to beat his way out of it with that attack speed. Kiki So Cheeky takes that Homiefe, and hopefully Cognitive doesn't lose too much here and lose that Fire Giant advantage they just managed to take. Unfortunately, Famous Hate will go down. Bologna ult, Eagles Rally coming in there and doing a lot of damage. We'll see if they're able to chase and take any more. Incon blinks in and does manage to knock up Isis. Good shield on Kiki to immediately cleanse that stun. They're going to try and take out Heroin here. Brutalize going on, and Allied does manage to take him out. Allied now sitting at 6-1. Vic, I'm almost giving away his life there. Not quite sure what he was going for there. Might have just been trying to snag one of these few opponents that were on low health, but unfortunately not able to convert that. But does manage to get out with his life. Unfortunately, a bit of a drop of the Fire Giant buff there. I think Cognitive should have waited to regroup a little bit rather than trying to force that push onto the tier 2 tower. But when you are against a team like AFK, you definitely need to try and push any advantage you get. So I respect the decision there by Cognitive to try and make a big play right after grabbing the Fire Giant. But unfortunately, it just didn't pan out for them. Meerkat now in a bit of trouble, hit by the Sickening Strike and the Weakening Curse, so his healing is not going to do anything for him. Oh, excuse me, this cold's killing me. But he does manage to get out with the help of his teammates. So a lot of things dropped there by AFK, dropping the anti-heal into the Hercules. But weren't able to finish him off thanks to some good rotations from Cog to save him. This game is still definitely anyone's game. AFK with that XP lead, but not insurmountable, and the gold difference is very negligible. 300 gold means nothing at this point in the game. Really means nothing at any point in the game. So Cog are definitely putting up an excellent fight here against AFK, and still have a chance to take this game. This Fenrir did a lot of work early, and he's definitely running a good slash line, but he hasn't had a super large impact in these later team fights. Obviously, Fenrir is still amazing at picking off individuals, but doesn't have a huge team fight presence coming out of them for what you would expect for your mid laner. Itemization here, Hunters again following the same path, going into their Executioner after Boots. Apollo has actually finished off his Greater Sprint, whereas Allied is still just sitting on the level 1 sprint. Check actives across the board. We actually have 3 blinks coming out for Cognitive Gaming here on Bickham, Homiefe, and Heroin actually picking up a blink on that Isis. Likely we'll go into the combat blink, while I imagine Bickham and Homiefe will just go for the standard blink 3s. Itemization, very standard for Kraken, the Mystic Mail into the Ethereal Staff, giving him a lot of bulk and a lot of sort of sustained damage in team fights. We do have a fight possibly breaking out here on the left lane. Going to be able to push down that tier 1 tower as Team AFK. Cognitive, luckily this time, is all grouped up. In that last team fight on the right, they didn't have everyone together. Bickham does still have that Fire Giant buff, which isn't huge on Kraken with this tanky build, but is still definitely useful, and will help to give him a bit more sustain. AFK gonna try and start up the Gold Fury here to pick out a bit of an advantage. Hercules doing his best to get in here and stop them, but Allied is just going to sit back and work on picking that. We'll see if Cognitive is able to get in here and disrupt. We do have the Circle of Protection down from Isis, a little off target there, only going to get Cyclone Spin, and an ult coming out from Ares. Big ultimate coming out from Medusa, managed to actually stun 2 on that. The Geb ult following up, still no one dead just yet. We've got members of AFK getting very low, very low. We'll see if Cog is able to chase some of these down. If they can pick up 1 or 2 of these, then they'll be in a really good spot. We hear Famous Hate going up into the air. He's likely going to try and take out Cyclone Spin here. Managed to do that, double kill for Famous Hate. Really excellent fight from Cognitive Gaming. Let's see, who got the Gold Fury on that? Looks like AFK did still get the Gold Fury based on the gold. Take a look at the graphs here. And yeah, so AFK did grab that Gold Fury, but a lot of that recouped by Cognitive. Good job to make the best out of a bad situation. And they're really showing the potential this lineup has now, with the Gabrakan locking people in, and Meerkat and Heroine following up with their ultimates. Unfortunately, the no escapes from Ares haven't accomplished a ton this game, but the cripples have been crucial for slowing down Fenrir. So Cognitive doing a good job in this game, sticking pretty neck and neck with AFK. Very impressive performance from Cog so far, considering the trouble they've been having this season. AFK now going to back up, grab their buffs, and Cog looks like they're trying to trend towards the Fire Giant here. I don't know if they're really going for this, or if this is a bait to try and drag AFK into a fight with Cyclone Spin being down. They're dumping quite a bit of damage into it, so we'll see what they're able to accomplish. We do have a hog up from Geb, so Cognitive's going to have to really watch it here, and they are now going to break off from the Fire Giant and try to turn this into a fight. Unfortunately, Cyclone Spin has respawned and is rotating in now, so Cognitive is just going to have to relinquish this Fire Giant attempt. Speed buff being picked up by Cog there. Incon does get plucked, but his Magi's will be coming up in another 30 seconds. They're likely going to try and delay any fight until that point. Weaken still focusing on these mid camps over here. I think the vast majority of those have gone to AFK. Unfortunately, like the main SPL cast, I don't have statisticians backing me up to keep a track of those things, so I won't have a jungle control map or anything, but I'm pretty sure AFK has secured very large majority of the mid camps this game, but Cognitive still managing to keep this to a very narrow game. This gold lead still doesn't mean much. The XP lead is a little painful, but with members of AFK now hitting 20, that only means that the gap will close from this point onwards. It can't grow any larger once AFK has already hit level 20. So Cognitive definitely not out of this game yet. Teams sort of backing up, taking a little break now. Had quite a bit of action there for a bit. Now teams are just going to work on their camps and making sure they secure all their buffs. Take a little rundown on builds here. As we said earlier, Hercules, after going into that protection, was going to go cooldown and utility. I expected him to go another Fizz protection earlier, but he has actually delayed that a bit, but now has that Iron Mail. I would imagine this late in the game that'll probably be a Mid-Guardian Mail rather than a Mystic Mail. I don't see him picking up a Mystic Mail at this point. Gabrakan going full Bruiser here, has the cloak now. That'll likely be a Magi's for him. Ares, pretty standard stuff here, except they are not picking up a Heart Ward Amulet, which is interesting considering the large amount of physical damage coming out from the cores of AFK Gaming. I would have liked to see a Heart Ward to help his team out, but he is protecting himself well with the Sovereignty and now going into another Fizz protection item. That'll probably be a Mid-Guardian Mail or an Nemean possibly. Isis, Heroine here, has gone pretty standard stuff for Isis into the Warlock, Sash, and Spear of the Magus. I imagine this Lost Artifact will probably be the next thing he finishes, and I'd like to see that go into a Chronos Pendant. Cooldown reduction, very powerful on Isis, considering all of her utility spells. Hunters, there's really not usually much to talk about in their builds, both going very standard stuff. Interestingly enough, Famous Hate has actually managed to take a gold lead over Allied at this point, despite Allied being 6-1. So Allied not quite keeping on track of the farm there, and really good farm by Famous Hate. Managing to stay even and even a little bit of ahead of the enemy Hunter, despite quite a disparity in their kill deaths. Geb has gone into the Sovereignty and now has a Silver Talisman. We'll see what direction he goes with that. Maybe a Bulwark? I don't really see it being a Heart Ward. I think that's what that builds into, since we've already got a Heart Ward on Fenrir. Bologna, this has become sort of the very standard Bologna build now. You get a Frostbound or an Archival, and then you just go into utility and defense, and that's what he's done with the Spirit Robe and the Magi's. Might have a fight breaking out here. Cyclone dashes out. Incon jumping into the fray. Kiki actually gets a couple with his leap in there and manages to grab up the Isis Herwin. Incon still in the middle of the fray there, has dropped his ultimate. We've got kills going both ways now. Herwin taken out of the fight. Well, not going both ways actually. Famous 8 and Herwin taken out. Things aren't looking good for Cog in this fight. Hercules might get out of here with a dash. Plucks 2 enemies into the tower. Kiki having to be a little careful there on the back lane. We've got Incon now potentially in a little bit of trouble, but he is managing to roll on out of there. Weekend and the boys now coming back in. Meerkat looking very low. We'll see if they're able to take him out. They are indeed. Homie FA now getting beaten on by Weekend. He's going to have a tough time getting away due to that Frostbound hammer. Over here, Cyclone Spin and the rest managed to take out Bickham, but Homie FA does manage to retreat out of there. This is almost certainly a Fire Giant for AFK Gaming. Homie FA is still alive here, so could potentially get another really nice Blink steal like he did before, but I imagine they're going to have Cyclone Spin zoning, and indeed they will. They're dumping all their cooldowns into the Fire Giant now. Fenrir and Bologna, very good at taking objectives, strong basic attackers. And of course Allied as a hunter going to do a lot of damage to that as well. Continuing with the builds from earlier, we now have the Jotuns picked up on Fenrir. That's generally considered core in about any Fenrir build. Fenrir, very potent ability caster, so excellent pickup on Fenrir, getting the Jotun's Wrath. Sobek is now going to be going into a Void Stone, so he is again going pretty bulky like you generally expect on your solo laner. And this should make him pretty resilient now. He's got the Fizz protection, which is helping against Famous 8 and Meerkat, and now with the magic protection, that'll definitely help reduce the damage he takes from Bickham, Homie FA, and Herwind, as well as helping out a little bit with Incon. Incon, their only other magical damage dealer, and while it's not a ton, it will help with his ultimate, the Geb ultimate, able to do a large chunk of damage. Ugh, excuse me for that. This cold is just killer. As we suspected, it is the Midgardian male for the Hercules there. And Isis, Herwind actually sells off his Shroud at this point and finishes the Rod. I really would have liked to see the Chronos Pendant. I think cooldown reduction would have been a little more useful at this point. But damage definitely not a bad thing to have at any point. Now AFK pressuring the middle lane, all 5 members holding the Fire Giant buff currently. And we'll see if they're able to push into a Phoenix or if they want to trend towards the left lane and grab that left side tower. We've got a blink in, grabbing 4 with the no escape. We'll see how many actually get pulled. None pulled, but a lot of cooldowns. Actually, it looks like Kiki did get pulled. A lot of cooldowns blown. Kiki manages to grab Kabrakan, bring him out. Ooh, another big ultimate combo for Meerkat and Bickham. That ultimate combo has been there all game and doing a really good job for them. They managed to take out 1, managed to take out 2 without losing any. Excellent defense by Cog. We now hear Famous 8 going up into the air. We'll see if he decides to chase onto anyone. It's going to be a little risky, I think, for him to go in here alone. Kiki does manage to jump out, though. So AFK actually losing 2 with the Fire Giant buff. Really excellent job by Cognitive their defense. That combo, like I said, has just been immaculate all game. Excellent job. As soon as that Hercules boulder goes, Bickham drops the cage with the Kabrakan ultimate there, and they've been getting like double and even triple taps on people all game. Homie FA may be tanking the tower a bit long there. Weekend Eagles rallies in and looks like he is going to manage to take him out. Tanked a little too much of that tower and got a little too low. And Cog may have overstayed their welcome. Kiki now going to grab Bickham and drag him back in. Meerkat trying his best to peel them off, but unfortunately Bickham has already gone down. AFK chasing a little bit here, but I don't know how much they'll pressure in considering the damage output of Famous 8. Herwind actually manages to stop the Geb roll out here. We may see a Spirit Ball to stop him a little bit, but couple kills picked up back there by AFK, dropping the Fire Giant off of, or let's say they still have the Fire Giant. Excuse me. But taking 2 out, Allied and Cyclone Spin are missing the Fire Giant at this point due to that good defense by Cognitive, but Cognitive getting just a little trigger happy there, I would say, rushing in a little too much after those 2 kills, not respecting the fact that AFK still had several Fire Giant buffs on them and could mount a very strong defense even without having all of their players there. We've got builds sort of rounding out now. Paulo, famous hate here, going into his final crit, Allied as well. Actives were finished up on those. Actives generally getting finished across the board. In fact, AFK has all of their actives at tier 3 on everyone, so that's definitely nice for them in these fights. Incon going to drop a knock-up on Herwin. Herwin going to drop the Circle of Protection to try and save himself. And Bologna will drop in the Eagles Rally. Good combat blink out by Herwin as soon as that Eagles Rally stun ended. We'll see if he's able to get out. Incon rolling in and dropping the ultimate. No deaths so far though. Let's see, what was brought out of Herwin? Big cooldowns on Herwin though. He unfortunately still only has beads 1 at this point, which he did pop to break the Eagles Rally and use the combat blink. So if anyone dives on him, he's going to be a lot of trouble in the next fight. We do have a blink in by Kabrakan. Hercules driving, striking the Blown after pulling her. Weaken going to walk out of that though. And it looks like that's where the aggression will end for the moment. Fire Giant is up very soon. We now see some dewarding by Meerkat here. This is likely where the next big fight will happen. Teams are going to probably focus pretty heavy over here right now. The Gold Fury's down, so there's nothing to think about on that side of the map. And this definitely could be sort of the deciding fight of the game. So we'll see which direction it goes. Buffs being picked up. Cyclone Spin going to back right now. Famous Hate doing what Apollo does over on the left side of the map there. He does have his ultimate available, so he'll be able to come in at a moment's notice to help with the fight. Cyclone Spin, let's see, does he have... Oh, I guess he actually canceled his back. I thought he might have backed and used teleport, but he just canceled his back. Does manage to hit Meerkat and pop his Magi's with the pluck. And now Weaken and Kiki So Cheeky going aggressive on Homie FA. Homie FA does get the ultimate out and Eagles Rally simultaneously to stun right as that ends. Incon gets into the back line and actually sort of baits out that Circle of Protection, that not going to do a ton. Another really nice combo from the Hercules and Kabrakan there. Every time Hercules is finding that wall. Unfortunately, AFK is very strong at this point. They had about a 6k gold lead going into that fight, and unfortunately that was just a bit too much for Cognitive Gaming. Not a lot to say in that fight. Cog dropped their whole combo, but unfortunately just wasn't able to finish anyone with it, and AFK was able to resurge due to their tanky front line mostly. Cyclone really getting in the front there and absorbing a lot for the team, healing back up with Sickening Strike. And this will be, looks like, the end of the game. Victory for AFK Gaming, as we see. So this is a 2-game series. Game 1, as we saw there, goes to AFK Gaming. A really good effort put up by Cognitive Gaming. I was actually very surprised with that. They did a lot of the right things when they needed to. Really gave AFK a run for their money in the mid-game there. I think AFK may have gotten a bit overconfident after their good start and dropped some plays there. Particularly impressive play by the Hercules and the Kabrakan combining together. Bickham's walls were on point, making sure to use that Kabrakan ult and choke points where enemies couldn't just walk around them and would have to break them, and every time Hercules just dropping the boulder right into that. Really nice combos. Big props to Cognitive Gaming. We'll see what they can bring going into Game 2. I was intending to do both games in one video here, but this cold is killing me, and that game went a lot longer than I expected it would, to be honest. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break here. Be back for Game 2 a bit later, and I hope you all join in for that. Remember to leave comments, constructive comments on either the Reddit thread for this or into the YouTube video. Say what you liked and didn't like, and suggest what you would do to improve what you didn't like. And we'll hopefully get better and better casts as we go on. Hope you enjoyed this one. Be sure to come back for more, and we'll see you guys for Game 2 coming up in just a little while.